Krishna Kava Punya Hare is a poem written by Prabhupada during the Lalita. I emphatically say to you, O brothers, you will obtain your good fortune from the Supreme Lord Krishna only when Srimati Radharani becomes pleased with you. Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master who bestows intense devotion to Krishna at different places throughout the world. By his strong desire, the holy name of Lord Gauranga will spread throughout all the countries of the Western world. In all the cities, towns and villages on the earth, from all the oceans, seas, rivers and streams, everywhere will chant the holy names of Krishna. As the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire is then fulfilled. Although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am not worthy or fit to do it. I am very fallen and insignificant. Therefore, O Lord, now I am begging for your mercy, so that I may become worthy, for you are the wisest and most experienced of all. If you bestow your power by serving the spiritual master who attains the absolute truth, one's life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes happy and get your association due to good fortune. O Lord Krishna, you are my eternal companion. Forgetting you, I have suffered the kicks of Maya birth after birth. If today the chance to meet you occurs again, then I will surely be able to rejoin you. O dear friend, in your company I will experience great joy once again in the early morning. I will wander about the covered pastures and fields, running and frolicking in the many forests of Braja. I will roll on the ground in spiritual ecstasy. Oh, when will that be mine? Today, that remembrance of you came to me in a very nice way, because I have a great longing. I call to you. I am your eternal servant, and therefore I desire your association so much. O Lord Krishna, except for you, there is no other means of success. Guru ki jai. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Vallabha Giridhari Jaya Madhava Kunja Vihari Yashoda
Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, text number, okay, text number 7, can we go? Do we have 7? Yeah, go to text number 7. Last time we finished in text number 6. Just give me 1 minute, please. Thank Gauranga ki jai. Go to text number 6. 6. One verse previous. Yes. Savai Bhavan Veda Samastaguhyam. Savai Bhavan Veda Samastaguhyam. Savai Bhavan Veda Samastaguhyam. Upasito Yat Purushaha Puranaha उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजति अवति अत्ति गुणै असंगः सृजत्यवति अत्ति गुणैरसंगः सृजत्यवत्यति गुणैरसंगः स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यवति अत्ति गुणैरसंगः स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यवति अत्ति गुणैरसंगः स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यवति अत्ति गुणैरसंगः स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यवत्यत्ति गुणैरसंगः स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यवत्यत्ति गुणैरसंगः स वै भवान् वेद समस्तगुह्यम् उपासितो यत्पुरुषः पुराणः परावरेशो मनसैव विश्वं सृजत्यवत्यत्ति गुणैरसंगः Synonyms: Saha, thus, why, certainly, Bhavan, yourself, Veda, no, Samasta, all inclusive, Guhyam, confidential, Upasitaha, devotee of, Yat, because, Purushaha, the personality of Godhead, Puranaha, the oldest, Para Avara Ishaha, the controller of the material and spiritual worlds, Manasa, mind, Eva, only, Vishwam, the universe, Srijati, creates, Avati Atti, maintains and annihilates, Gunaihi, by the qualitative matter, Asangaha, unattached. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the Creator and Destroyer of the material world and maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Translation with repetition. My Lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the Creator and Destroyer of the material world and maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A person who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is the emblem of knowledge. Such a devotee of the Lord in full perfection of devotional service is also perfect by the qualification of the personality of Godhead. As such, the eightfold perfections of mystic power, Ashtasiddhi, constitute very little of his godly opulence. A devotee like Narada can act wonderfully by his spiritual perfection, which every individual is trying to attain. Srila Narada is a 100% perfect living being, although not equal to the personality of Godhead. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Shri Guram Dinataranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are continuing to see this verse where Vyasadeva was feeling despondent despite compiling all the Vedic literatures, including the Vedanta Sutra. So he compiled the four Vedas, the Puranas, the Itihasas like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. He also compiled 18 different Puranas. But despite compiling all of this, Vyasadeva is still feeling despondent. What is the meaning of despondent? He is in a deep state of sorrow, and he himself is not able to come out of that kind of a despondency. At that time, Narada observes the despondent situation of Vyasadeva. Narada being the spiritual master, he was welcomed by Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva was relieved to know that Narada Muni is here to relieve him from his despondency. So this statement here is basically made by Vyasadeva glorifying his spiritual master. How does Vyasadeva glorify his spiritual master? He says that everything that is mysterious is known to you. Why is it known to you? Because you are the worshipper of the Creator and Destroyer of the material world. Who is the Creator and the Destroyer of the material world? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. He is a Creator and the Destroyer of the material world, and he is the maintainer of the spiritual world. And because he has worshipped him, Narada knows everything. And now Vyasadeva wants to understand the cause of his despondency. He says, Prabhupada in the purport says, a person who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is the emblem of knowledge. Emblem of knowledge. What is the emblem of India? Yesterday we had Independence Day celebration. What is the emblem of India? Ashok Chakra. So what is it? We don't know what is the emblem of India. Anybody knows? What is the emblem of India? The emblem of India, as far as I know, it is a 4 lions, na? 4 lions facing 4 different directions. Emblem is what? Is a representation of some aspect. Here we can see he is the emblem of knowledge, all kinds of knowledge. Who? A person who's engaged cent% in the devotional service of the Lord. A pure devotee of the Lord is engaged cent% in the service of the Lord. His mind, his body, his senses, all are engaged in the service of the Lord. He is a person who cent% engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur glorifies such a person who cent% engaged in the service of the Lord. How do we glorify a spiritual master? Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana. Always engaged. In what? The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. He's cent% engaged. And not only is he engaged, he engages the disciples also in the temple worship, in decorating the deity, in dressing the deity in beautiful cloths and ornaments. Just like we see on the altar, the Lord is adorned with beautiful cloths and ornaments. The spiritual master engages the disciple in cleaning the temple. He also explains and glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that the disciple does constant smaranam or remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this way, the spiritual master is himself engaged cent% in the service of the Lord. And anybody who's engaged cent% in the service of the Lord, what happens to him? He becomes the emblem of knowledge. This is confirmed in the Bhagavatam also. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashuvairagyam Jnanam Cha Yat Haitukam. Anybody who is engaged in the service of the Lord by rendering devotional service, bhakti, unto the personality of Godhead, one immediately, it's not slowly, it's immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. There is no cause, it's causeless. So one philosopher argues that there can be certain events in this world which can be causeless. So he gives a very simple example. He says that the cause of rain is the cloud. We generally tend to think everything has a cause, but it's not necessarily true. Imagine a child wants to go out and play, and the mother says, "Beta, you go out and play only if it is not raining." So it does not rain, correct? And because it does not rain, this guy goes out and plays. So can you attribute a cause? You cannot attribute a cause, correct? So not necessarily every event has to follow a cause. Something not happening also can trigger the effect. So causeless means there is no cause attributed to it. Causeless. It is by the causeless mercy of the Lord, Divya Jnana Hriday Prakashita happens in the heart of a devotee. Who's a devotee? Who's cent% engaged in the service of the Lord. His mind, his intelligence, his body, everything is engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the art of engaging our mind, body and intelligence in the service of the Lord is called dovetailing. is called the process of dovetailing. Dovetailing is a very interesting concept. It's a most important concept. It is a primary concept that is explained in the middle chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. In the case of a pure devotee of the Lord, he doesn't dovetail because his body is spiritual. But in our case, as sadhakas, we dovetail. We dovetail our talents. Somebody is a good singer. Somebody is a good at playing instruments. Somebody is good at architecture. We dovetail their talents in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So a person who is sent person engaged in the service of the Lord, he basically is the emblem of knowledge. We will also read the next verse where Vyasadeva continues to glorify Narada Muni. So this particular verse is verse number 8, and he continues to glorify Narada Muni. He says, "My dear Narada, you're just like the sun. Your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds. And like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive super soul. Please therefore find out the deficiency in me, and despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulations and vows." You see how Vyasadeva is glorifying Narada? He is glorifying Narada, saying that you are the all-pervasive super soul. How can spiritual master behave like an all-pervasive personality? Is it possible? As Paramatma? So that is clarified by Prabhupada in one of the purports. Here, Vyasadeva is glorifying Narada. You are like the air who can penetrate the internal regions of everyone. Internal region matlab the heart of everyone. And who is situated in the heart? The Paramatma is situated in the heart of every living entity. But here Vyasadeva is glorifying the spiritual master as sitting in the heart of every living entity. How is this possible? So Prabhupada describes in one of the purports. We all know that Brahma is the first created entity. In this world, who is the first living entity? Brahma. Brahma created all the other different species, the plants, the aquatics, the humans, Brahma created. So when Brahma was created by Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, when Brahma manifested from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Brahma could see nothing. At that time, Brahma was not aware of what to do. Why am I created? Why am I in this dark space? And then he hears a word called tapaha. So he begins to perform tapasya. When he begins to perform tapasya, something interesting happens. He becomes enlightened with knowledge in his heart. And the moment he's enlightened with knowledge in his heart, he begins to create. You see? So, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Lord in the heart who guides the living entity is called Chaitya Guru. What is he called? Chaitya Guru. The spiritual master who's outside, a bona fide spiritual master, who's in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master outside and the spiritual master within, the Paramatma, are both representations of the Lord. Unless one is a bona fide representative of the Lord, a bona fide representative, like Narada Muni, who sent person engaged in the service of the Lord, one cannot claim to be a spiritual master, because spiritual master is a representation of Paramatma in the heart. is as good as Paramatma in the heart. Can you see the position of the spiritual master? That is why in the next verse he is described as one who is as qualified as the super soul, who is as qualified as Paramatma in the heart. And therefore Vyasadeva is describing the spiritual master Narada Muni as Paramatma himself, as the all-pervasive Paramatma who's sitting in the heart of every living entity. Why is he glorifying him like that? Because the spiritual master, who's a representative of Krishna, who's coming down in the disciplic succession, who's a sent person, devotee of the Lord, who's engaging his mind, body, intelligence, everything in the service of the Lord, he can understand, he can speak the words of Paramatma. And Paramatma speaks the word to the spiritual master. Therefore, the Paramatma is called Chaitya Guru. Imagine the position of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada is such a spiritual master who's all pervasive, because what he speaks is what Paramatma reveals in the heart as Divya Jnana. You see the position of Prabhupada? So Prabhupada is not an ordinary personality. To take up the role of a spiritual master is not an easy thing. It's not an ordinary thing. One must be sent person, engaged in the service of the Lord, and he must be a representative of Paramatma. Such is the greatness of Prabhupada. So therefore, if one has to approach such a guru, to basically understand the principles of devotion service. So that's the important point that we can understand by the way Vyasadeva is glorifying Narada. He's glorifying Narada as the all-pervasive Paramatma in the heart. And Vyasadeva continues to say about a very important thing. He says that, my dear spiritual master, despite being absorbed in transcendence, in spiritual knowledge, I'm absorbed in transcendence. I'm following the rules and regulations of Shastras, but still I'm feeling despondent. Still I'm feeling morose. Still I'm feeling sad. Why? He's not able to understand. Who's Vyasadeva? The compiler of the Vedas. He's the compiler of the Vedanta Sutras, which is the essence of the Vedas. He is feeling sorrowful. And only a bona fide representative like Narada, who sent person engaged in the service of the Lord, only he can relieve him from the despondent situation. In reply to this, Narada, in the next verse, what does he say? Let's hear this. He says, Sri Narada said, you have hardly broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy, which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord, is considered worthless. So Narada is saying here, my dear Vyasadeva, you have not sufficiently glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in the Vedas. And because you have not sufficiently glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are feeling despondent. You are in a deep state of sorrow. So, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that the eternal relationship of an individual soul with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is constitutionally one of being eternal servitor of the Master. The Lord has expanded himself as living beings in order to accept loving service from them. And this alone can satisfy both the Supreme Lord and the living entity. Such a scholar as Vyasadeva had completed many expansions of the Vedic literatures, ending with the Vedanta philosophy, but none of them had been written directly glorifying the personality of Godhead. Although he compiled so much of philosophical work, he compiled all the Vedas, but he did not sufficiently glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The moment he revealed this, what did Vyasadeva do? He began to compile the Srimad Bhagavatam. The compiler of the Vedanta Darshana is Vyasadeva himself. Yet he is troubled. Although he is the author, yet he is troubled. And therefore, Narada Muni says, my dear Vyasadeva, in all your works, all the work that you have done, although it is scholarly, you have not sufficiently glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Vyasadeva, finds the need to describe the Srimad Bhagavatam. You see the position of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not an ordinary literature. But what does Srimad Bhagavatam provide to us? Does Srimad Bhagavatam merely provide some knowledge? Does it merely provide an information? What does Srimad Bhagavatam provide? This is mentioned by Vyasadeva in the first 3 verses of the Bhagavatam. The first 3 verses of the Bhagavatam is meant to glorify the position of Bhagavatam. It's not an ordinary text. It's not an ordinary text. So here in the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada writes in the purport, what is this Bhagavatam meant to offer? It is described here that Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarupa. What is the meaning of Swarupa? The self form, the form of the Lord, the Swarupa, the form. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. We all know the Supreme Lord has 3 different potencies. What are they? Internal potency, external potency, and marginal potency. The living entities in this material world comes under marginal. We are all marginal potencies. Internal potency is basically the spiritual energy of the Lord. And the external potency is what? The prakriti, matter around us. The wood, this mic stand, the pages, all of these things are all external energies of the Lord. And here it is described that Srimad Bhagavatam is the Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. And this potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience. The external energy of the Lord is within our experience, but the internal energy of the Lord is beyond our experience. And Srimad Bhagavatam is that narration which is the Swarupa of the Lord, and it is the internal potency of the Lord. Very important point. Okay, now that I've understood the internal potency, what more can I understand from Bhagavatam? What does Bhagavatam have to offer? Okay, I understand that Bhagavatam is internal potency. So what? Somebody may ask, isn't it? So to understand this, Vyasadeva further describes to us what does this Bhagavatam have to offer. It is described in the verse number 3. Purport. Prabhupada describes this. So before we get into that particular description, I'll give a very simple, let's understand what Bhagavatam has to offer. Let us understand some practical examples of certain aspects within the living entity. There was once a driver who was driving to an important meeting. He was driving his car. It was a self-driven car. He didn't have a driver. He himself was a driver. And he had a very important meeting, urgent meeting. And he's driving on that flyover, that Noida flyover. You know, where the ISKCON temple is there, there's one flyover. Correct, connecting D&D and Noida. There's a 7 kilometer long flyover. He was driving at very high speed. Suddenly, another guy, he was also speeding. He overtook him and almost touched the bumper of his car. And the moment he saw this, he began to react. He became very, very angry. The guy who was going for the meeting became very, very angry. He started blinking his lights and started honking at him. He came, side by him and, he started shouting at him. So, what is happening is, he perceived a situation, and in that situation, he was in a fit of rage or anger. Sense perception and emotions are connected. Another example. Imagine a speaker giving an important presentation. He confidentially walks to the podium, adjusts his microphone, and accidentally knocks over the entire water bottle. He's walking on the stage, there is a water bottle kept for the speaker. He knocks it off. And there is a moment of silence. And then everybody breaks to laugh. The speaker also laughs. Arey, what is this? Correct, na? So nothing objectively funny exists in the bottle. Actually, what if you see this bottle fell down? But why is everybody laughing? That moment of that situation has created or triggered a sense of hilarious moment. It has triggered a hilarious moment. Although nothing big has happened, the sight of the unexpected event combined with the audience's interpretation of it produces an experience of comedy. Another example, a mother seeing her child. A mother may have had an exhausting day. She's working all day, she's come back home, and she's very irritated, she is very tired. It's been a bad day at her office. Then her small child runs towards her and hugs the mother. Mama, you've come home. Although she's tired, although she's exhausted, how does a mother feel when she looks at the child? She has affection for the child. Isn't it? She perceives the child, my child is showing a lot of affection towards me. So affection is a rasa that flows out of love for the child, despite being tired, despite being exhausted. So the first example I gave of the road rage was an example of anger. It's a rasa. The second example which I gave is the example of comedy. Hasya. It's a rasa. The third example I gave is a rasa of affection, motherly affection. All of these are rasas which are found in the material world. Similarly, there are different types of rasas. Now, in the Bhagavatam purport, Prabhupada describes something very interesting. He says that some sort of rasa is developed from sense perception, like the rasa of anger, there is rasa of fear, there is rasa of comedy. Like this, the Vedic literature says that there are 12 different types of rasas. What are they? There is anger, there is wonder, there is conjugal love, there is comedy, chivalry. There are many chivalrous movies about army men sacrificing their life. They see their colleagues getting killed, so they go out and fight. There are many movies like that. Chivalry is a rasa. Mercy is a rasa. Servitorship, to serve somebody, is a rasa. Fraternity or friendship is a rasa. Horror is a rasa. All of these are different rasas arising from sense perception, the way we see the world. Like I gave the example of anger, I gave the example of comedy, all of these rasas. Now, the Bhagavatam, so all of these rasas are there. And Prabhupada continues to describe about these rasas. These rasas, which are found in the material world, is a reflection of what is already existing in the spiritual world. And the Bhagavatam is meant to provide a spiritual rasa of what? Of anger, of comedy, all of these rasas. It is meant to give an experience of that rasa to the reader of the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is meant to offer that rasa. So I will read the exact statement. There is no possibility of exchange of rasas between a man and an animal, or between a man and any other species of living entities. The rasas can be exchanged between the members of the same species. The spiritual exchange or rasa is fully exhibited in the spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. In Vrindavana pastime, all the Vrajavasis were expressing these rasas to Krishna. To Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore described in the Shruti mantras as the fountainhead of all the rasas. In the material existence, that is in the material world, the rasas are experienced in the perverted form, which is temporary. I gave some examples of rasas in the material world. One who attains to full knowledge of these different rasas, which are the basic principles of activities, can understand the false representation of the original rasa which are reflected here. The Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that text which is meant to give an experience of the original rasa with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see the statement? So the Bhagavatam is meant to give an experience of the rasa, of bhakti rasa, varieties of bhakti rasa, dasya rasa, shakya rasa. All of these rasas are there in the Bhagavatam, in the literature of the Bhagavatam. So as the reader reads Bhagavatam in the proper spirit, in the submissive spirit, he can experience that spiritual rasa. From the spiritual world, he can experience that in the pages of the Bhagavatam. He can experience that. Provided the Bhagavatam is heard from a bona fide spiritual master. So therefore, Bhagavatam is not just an ordinary book. Prabhupada in one place makes a very interesting statement. Prabhupada says that nobody can buy my books from the market and become scholarly and develop bhakti. It's not possible. In one place he says in the second canto. Prabhupada makes another statement. He says, hearing and reciting and explaining is more important than reading. Reading is important, but more important is this. Why does he make all the statements? So therefore, through the pages of the Bhagavatam, a sincere listener who hears the Bhagavatam, he can experience spiritual rasas of the spiritual world. That is what the Bhagavatam is meant to offer. But one can experience that only by submissive oral reception. It is directly linked to the character that we have in our heart. That's why Prabhupada makes a very interesting statement in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9. He says, character is the seat for Krishna consciousness. Shukadev Goswami in the previous verses we saw, Sutta Goswami was glorified by the sages of Naimisharanya. My dear Sutta, you are free from all the vices. Vice means what? All the things that is sinful is called vice. Correct? Illicit connection with women, meat eating, gambling, Correct? All of these things are vices. My dear Sutta Goswami, you are free from vices. You see the character. Oh, my dear Sutta Goswami, the sages glorify him, saying that you are well learned in all the Shastras. And because of your submissive spirit, the spiritual masters have given you Divya Jnana. They've revealed everything in your heart. So because everything is revealed in the heart, why is it everything revealed in the heart? Because of the character of Sutta Goswami. So the entire institution of ISKCON is meant to develop a person with character. And what kind of a character? A character who can relish spiritual rasas from the Bhagavatam, from the pages of the Bhagavatam. Therefore, Bhagavatam is said to be the incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The sages of Naimisharanya asked Sutta Goswami, my dear Sutta Goswami, where has religion gone to after Krishna left this world? So then, Sutta Goswami says, the Bhagavatam is just like this brilliant sun which is arisen, and it is a direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, although the pages of the Bhagavatam may appear like ink and paper, it's a combination of ink and paper. So we have to read something beyond ink and paper. We have to read the mood of Prabhupada. We have to read the emotions behind what Prabhupada is sharing. We have to read what is in the mind of Prabhupada. We have to understand Prabhupada's mind through his words. So therefore, Bhagavatam reading is not merely information. Prabhupada says in the first verse purport that one must read Bhagavatam with great respect and attention. If you practically, technically see, it is just ink and paper. If you give to that kabaddi wala, you will get some money from this. It's ink and paper. But why Prabhupada is saying you have to give great respect? Because he sees something beyond ink and paper. What is that? That's the relationship that you develop with the Guru. And when you have a relationship with the Guru, and when you read the purports of the Bhagavatam, there is a change of heart. You will see much beyond what is being printed in the books. One will begin to experience the spiritual rasas in the pages of the Bhagavatam. That's the experience that Bhagavatam is meant to offer. But it is offered to one who's qualified. And who's qualified? One who's having a submissive spirit of hearing. So therefore, we have to learn this art of submissive hearing. Prabhupada describes submissive hearing as an art. It is an art. It's not developed in one day. Anybody who submissively hears the Bhagavatam from a pure devotee of the Lord, he can experience the spiritual rasas of Lord Krishna from the spiritual world. So this Bhagavatam is not an ordinary book. We are in touch with Prabhupada, who is not an ordinary spiritual master. He is a representative of Narada Muni. And therefore, it's very, very important to, now that we are in touch with a bona fide spiritual master, we are in touch with his Vani. Let's take the maximum advantage of this and progress in spiritual life. These are the most valuable treasures anybody can get in their entire existence. So let's make use of this opportunity. We have come in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, which is very, 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 very rare. And we have come in touch with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, and let's take this life very seriously and progress nicely in our Krishna consciousness. Correct? So that is what we can understand from today's verse as to how Vyasadeva became free from despondency by getting in touch with a bona fide spiritual master like Narada Muni. Okay? So Bhagavatam purports, Bhagavatam verses, they are not ordinary verses. One has to assimilate them with proper spirit. Then the spiritual rasas can be experienced in the pages of the Bhagavatam. So with this we'll stop here. Any questions anybody has before we stop the Bhagavatam class? Okay. श्रीमद् भागवतम ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, विश्व गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।